Hey guys, Zack here, and welcome back to another action figure review, and today we'll be taking a look at the Bandai movie monster series Godzilla 2002. Now, this version of Godzilla comes from the 2002 film Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, which is one of my favorite Godzilla movies. I absolutely love that movie. I love the script, I love the characters, I really like the updated designs for both Godzilla and Mechagodzilla, aka Kiryu, and overall, I just really love Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. There are some minor things that I'm not a big fan of. I feel like the suit for Godzilla feels a little stiff at points, like the movements just feel a little off. And just some, overall awkward moments that again, just kind of take me out of the movie. But besides that, Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is a phenomenal movie. So if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you check it out. In fact, I had the privilege of seeing this movie in theaters back in 2022, which was a couple years ago for Godzilla Day when they released it in theaters back then, and it was great. Yeah, so Godzilla against Mechagodzilla is definitely one of my favorite Godzilla movies. So, yeah. I don't really know what else to say, so let's just get right into this. Like usual, before we take a look at the figure itself, I just want to take a quick look at the tag here. So for the front, we have a nice picture of Godzilla from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla. At the bottom here, we have Godzilla 2002, both in Japanese and in English. Godzilla 2024. On the back here, we have a nice silhouette of Godzilla's back. Godzilla X Mechagodzilla. I mean, I've always known it as Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, so take that as you will. We have the movie monster series, both in Japanese and in English here. Bandai, made in China, Toho. 3, Bandai Namco. And on the inside here, we have mostly legal information here, but we also do have a bit of a bio of Godzilla from Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, or Godzilla X Godzilla, whatever you want to call it. It's in Japanese, so unfortunately I can't read it, but I have seen this before. This is actually a bio, so yeah. I never knew that until recently, and I know I've talked about that before, but still, it is very interesting nonetheless, but I digress. Anyway, yeah. That's pretty much it for the tag. Now going back to the figure itself, to start, we'll take a look at the paint, and the painting on this figure, I think looks pretty solid, so let's take a closer look. So as you can see here, the entirety of the figure is casted in this charcoal black coloration, which I think looks nice. I mean, this is what color Godzilla usually is, and again here, I think it looks nice. His toenails and fingernails here are painted a nice yellowish whitish coloration. I think that looks nice. As well as his teeth here, they're painted the same color as his nails. The inside of the mouth is painted a nice dark red with a nice glossy finish to it, which looks nice. His eyes here are painted gold with black pupils. And lastly, Godzilla's dorsal plates are painted a metallic silver, and I think these look really nice. The metallic paint here does kind of end here. I wish it went on for a little more. I wish it went on to, either here or here. Either of these two spots would have been fine, but, as is, this still looks good. I'm not upset, but a little more of that metallic paint here would have been nice. But, again, super minor and not the end of the world. So, yeah. Overall, I'm very pleased with the painting on this figure. It's not perfect, but for what it is, I like it. So, the painting on this figure, I'd say gets a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the articulation, and the articulation on this figure, I think is good. It's a Bandai vinyl, so for the most part, there's not a whole lot to say, but there is one thing that kind of threw me off guard with this figure, and that is the fact that the head can move 360 degrees. This is super simple, and not a big deal at all, but with more recent Bandai vinyls, there's either no articulation in the neck or there's a seam for articulation, but the head is just glued there. But here, the head can move 360 degrees. And again, it's really small, but they didn't glue it. So yeah, I'm kind of happy about that. I'm happy about head rotation in my action figures, but I digress. The arms here can move forward about that much and backwards about that much. And same with the other arm here. And the leg can kick forward about that far. and it can kick backwards about that far. Theoretically, it can do, a full 360. I've seen it done before on this figure, but at the same time, I don't want to risk, like, scratching anything, so I won't advise doing that, but if you feel confident, then go ahead. You can totally do that. So, yeah. And, same with the other leg here. Kick forward. And, oh, well, the other leg can move full 360 better than this one, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, that's pretty much it for the articulation. Again, it's a Bandai vinyl. Not a whole lot to say. So the articulation here, I'd say gets a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the sculpt. And for the most part, the sculpting here, I think, looks great. Bandai usually does a great job with, like, the sculpts on their figures, and this guy here is no exception. I think this is very close to what we see in Godzilla against Mechagodzilla, but there are a couple of things that I think look a little weird about this figure. Starting off with the head. Now, in the movie, Godzilla did have, like, sort of a droopy, like, upper jaw, but here, I think it's a little too droopy, and it looks a little weird. It doesn't look bad at all, but, like, it's a little noticeable, I'm not going to lie. So that's one thing that I'm not a big fan of. The other thing, this part of the tail here, I think looks a little weird. I don't know what it is. I don't know, like, because to me, it looks like it's just, like, the same, like, size here, because, like, usually, like, it starts off, like, bigger at the base, but then gradually just kind of thins out. But here, I don't know, this part just looks a little weird. And also, like, there should be, the tail should have a pointed end to it, which is not the end of the world. I've said this before, but vinyl is kind of a weird material to work with, and it's not super easy to make, like, thinner pieces, like, like you'd see on something like an SH Monster Art. So, the tail being like this, like, at the tip here, I don't mind. But, I don't know, like, the rest of the tail here, I don't know, there's just something about it that just looks a little off to me, but I digress. But besides that, though, the sculpting here is still very good. So the sculpting on this figure, I'd say gets a pass. Now, we'll take a look at the detailing, and the detailing on this figure looks very good. So let's take a closer look. So starting off at the head here, we can see all of the scales and all of the ridges in the face here are detailed very nicely. Everything here is very nicely defined. Like all the detailing on his snout here and everything like that looks great. And even his ears here have a nice bit of detailing. And the scaling continues all throughout the neck, which looks really good. And the underside too, again, is just detailed very nicely. A little bit of that detailing is loose, like in this very small spot for some reason, but after that, we do go back to that really nice looking, like, rigid scaling throughout, which looks very nice. Again, everything here is just very nicely defined. And even the arms here, again, all the scaling and everything like that is detailed very nicely. Same with the legs here. Again, like, all the scaling here looks great, and all, like, the creases in the skin and all that. It's just detailed very nicely. Just a lot of really nice detailing here. I like it. The detailing on the front of the body, like, it looks good. It's not as defined as, like, the rest of the body here, like, on the side here, but it still looks good. I like how this looks. So, yeah. But moving on to the tail here, again, that scaling just continues, and it just looks really nice. All of, like, the scales and all of the little creases in between just looks very good. And even the underside here, again, all of the creases are detailed very nicely. And we don't really have a lot of detailing at the feet, which, I mean, I don't really care because it's the feet, but I digress. Lastly, the dorsal plates here have a nice bit of detailing to them as well, all of the ridges and everything. They're not super sharp, but like I mentioned earlier, it's kind of hard for, vinyl is a hard material to work with, so you can't really get anything, like, too pointy or anything like that. So the way these look, I think they look good. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the detailing on this figure. And overall, I think the detailing here is very good. So the detailing on this figure, I'd say definitely gets a pass. Now, we'll do some size comparisons. Obviously, to start, here we have the Bandai Movie Monster Series Kiryu 2002. It's really nice to have these two in Movie Monster Series format, but I will say, even though I said I still like this figure, I do think, like, an updated version with better paint apps would be really nice, you know, because again, like, I don't think this looks bad, but there is a lot of paint missing where there should be paint. So, yeah, an updated version of this, like, sculpt with, like, the more complete paint apps would be really nice, but that might not happen. But I'm getting off topic here. Here we have the movie monster series Mothra 2003. Mothra larva, I should say. Here we have the movie monster series Godzilla 2000. And, of course, here we have some hand sanitizer. And here we have Dr. Billy Grant. So at the end of the day, should you get this figure? I'd say yes. You know, I think the painting looks nice. The articulation, well, it's a Bandai vinyl, so why am I even talking about that? I think the sculpting looks good, despite the droopy jaw and weird-looking tail towards the end of it. The detailing. Overall, I do think that this is a solid figure, so I do recommend that you pick this guy up. As far as price tags go, this guy is, well, I got this guy from Hobby Link Japan, and he was being sold there for about 25 bucks plus shipping, which I don't think is that bad of a price tag. I mean, again, with Hobby Link Japan, you do have to, like, import it, which usually costs, like, an additional, like, $30, which does bump the price up to $50, but, you know, shipping aside, like, 25 bucks, honestly, I don't think is a bad price for this guy. So, yeah, overall, I do like this figure, and I do recommend that you pick him up. So, yeah. Anyway, that is it for today. Have a great rest of your week, and I will see you in the next video. Peace, Zack out.